Welcome along to EXFL Tier 2 Season 9. We're here for round 1 of 22 at Bahrain. It's a new game, it's a new season, and it's new chances for all the new drivers and returning. We'll have 15 drivers still waiting on one to join. This is qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix, 18 minutes ahead of us then, to see who's going to get the first pole position of the season. After two brilliant seasons on F1 23, EXFL moves to F1 24. There's been a lot of speculation around the game of how it's going to treat some of the drivers, especially with the main thing being the handling. But we've got 14 drivers here to test that and test their skills to see where they're going to place themselves on the grid. We've got a whole new lineup and a few different surprises as well as a new team. So, out onto the grid first. Let's enable all this. Yep, right, there we go, right. Tom Drawbridge-Davies then has moved from Red Bull to the McLaren. He partners alongside Cal, who has stayed at McLaren for now the 4th season in a row. And hopefully he'll be the 15th driver to join. He'll be here in a few minutes. But let's see what the lineup of Cal and Tom can do. He was really excited to show off his helmet they made on the PC, but I think across the stream and on Xbox it doesn't come across, unfortunately. But anyway, Tom in the McLaren, like he made his first race in Belgium in the 1 week Cal missed out. He's back with them now, the two mates, so they'll hopefully get some good points on the board. Where can they challenge? We will find out. Frosty Life has moved from Aston Martin to the Red Bull. It's an all-Dutch lineup with the Dutch Dodo currently in the pit lane. Also two mates in the Austrian team. For Ferrari, Ridian remaining where he is, as well as Callum, but he's not racing today. So making his return, the Tier 2 Season 1 World Champion. 8 seasons later, 4 years later in the Ferrari is Gekkerbelg. We got Morgan, who finished joint 3rd last season in the Alpine, one of the biggest contenders for the season. So he's remaining in Alpine. We got Herozia returning after leaving the lead towards the end of Season 7, so the end of 2023. He is reserving in the all-new Kick Sauber as Alfa Romeo transform their team. We got Drifting moving alongside Morgan at Alpine from Williams. And speaking of the Williams, Bluey Doggo has moved from Mercedes to the Williams. We've got Billy, who's kept his Mercedes drive, and it's a very interesting lineup. Mercedes have got us Billy on the back end of last season, showing he had great pace to get a podium in Brazil as well as Abu Dhabi. We've got Nathan getting a full-time seat now at the Aston Martin. We've got Seb remaining where he is in the RB, another big contender for the season alongside his mate from last season as well as AlphaTauri also transform into RB. So Josh and Seb going for it again, and this time trying to go one up higher than they did last season. So Seb in the RB starts his lap on the intermediates. We've got Eggy moving from Alfa Romeo to Mercedes to partner Billy at the German team. That is going to be a very interesting lineup to see. We've got Oren also in the Aston Martin. He was a reserve for most of last season, and then I think he got promoted to Alfa Romeo or something. But anyway, fully in Aston Martin now. So, the rest of the grid. We got Warren and Lucas in the Haas. We got Scott in the and Josh B in the Sauber, but obviously none of those are racing today. We got James in the Williams, partnering Bluey, or Cargo's Blanc, as I should say. And that should be it. The reserves, Gekkerbelg racing today. Chaz, who's returning, not racing today. Carbro, who I don't know where he is, but he should have been racing today. EXFL Icon, Nick, and Herozia, who's racing today. Right then, Gekkerbelg, by just under a tenth, sets the pace then ahead of Billy. 2.5 tenths back, Frosty. 1 second off, Drifting. And 1.2 down is Tom. We don't know if they had any mistakes. This is their first qualifying session, as Eggy splits Drifting and Tom. This might even be some of these drivers' first league race in general on the game. So yeah, at the moment, Gekkerbelg setting the pace after winning the Tier 2 Season 1 Championship as Bluey goes 7th. He went to Tier 1, then came back to Tier 2 the season after, did a few races, got a couple wins, and then from Season 3 onwards he's been either not in the league or in Tier 1 Hasn't exactly done great, got a few points finishers, but he returns to Tier 2 this season after the rules have changed a bit. And looks like Morgan and Seb will be going again. Obviously, they are on the intermediate tyres. As the Ferrari under the night-lit sky then will head back into the pit lane. The HP logo is now all over the car. And yeah, we've got Red Bull versus Ferrari versus Mercedes at the moment, with the Alpine a second off. So yeah, the field spread last season, as there we go, there's Cal. In season 7, should I say, we knew who was really going to take pole for a lot of the races, but there still were close margins. Last season saw, I think in general, the closest margins on average of a Tier 2 season ever in terms of qualifying. This game obviously is going to make the gaps a little bit bigger, depending who can really be one with the car and the game to have the confidence. This game has a lot of confidence factors in it. So we'll see who can just get the most out of it. Noah wiggling there on the straight. I don't think he's pushing flat out. No, he is not. It's good to see him back, though, in the Red Bull. Billy heading into the pits. And currently, only Hirosio and the 2 Aston Martins yet to set a lap time. No one currently on a lap. As there we go, Cal is taking control of his McLaren. Last season's pole sitter. Obviously partnering the world champion from last season, Logan, beating him by 34 thousandths. Everyone thought Logan would be the #1, but Cal right at the end snatched it to get his first pole, and only pole at the moment, to start the season off in style, and then a couple of races later got his first win in Australia. Since then, he's been there in the top 10, getting some solid points finishes, but he wants more than that, and now he feels like maybe this season is his chance. Comes out of the pit lane now. I believe that's Lando's helmet then, because obviously he's joined after they've readied up. We've got 11 minutes left of this qualifying session, a very important and crucial qualifying session, because it shapes up what we are in store for in the season. But yeah, whoever takes pole today has a really good shot over the course of the 22 races to come. But if they don't like Bahrain, if it's just a track they don't like, then we'll see in the next few races some sort of prediction of how things are going to look. But at the moment, it's still close. Top 2 covered by under a 10th. But Hirosio then looks like he's going to show his Sauber into the top 3 or 4. Purple set to 1. Looks like that's a purple set to 2. And now he's just got 1 corner to navigate. Technically 2, but you don't really count the last one. Heavy braking then down into the right-hander. And the only corner you really have to worry about in the sector 3. Across the line then for Hirosio. It's got 28.5 to put himself just over a 10th off Gekkeberg. So Hirosio in the Sauber. Obviously he did drive a lot in the Alfa Romeo. Actually won here a year and a half ago. Won the opening round of the season. Back on the end of F1 22. So he's keeping to that team, at least reserving for now, as that's drifting, heading out, as well as Morgan, the teammates in the Alpine. And I believe this is Cal about to start his lap as he slides out the final corner then. This is the first lap of the season for Callum 5. DRS open as the Ferrari in front of him exits the pit lane. Riding on board with the McLaren. Heavy braking down into turn 1. As crossing the line is the Aston Martin of Oren to go P8. Cal taking it nice and easy on the exit of 3. DRS open once again. Plunging down to turn 4. Comes the McLaren, and we'll see what his first sector split is. Turn 4, very tricky to get on exit. If you get a too tight entry, you can easily lose the car. 29.0 then for the McLaren, finishing the first sector split. Heading down into the turn 8 hairpin. The Ferrari, I believe, of Ridian, yeah, in front of him. Probably the most difficult corner on the track. The downhill turn 10. Takes it nice and easy. DRS open for the final time on a straight on a lap before a mini opening right before the line. Heading into turn 11 then to finish sector 2 off then, as his teammate will be also on a lap, about 20 seconds behind him. 1 minute 8.0. I believe that's about 1.3 seconds off what we saw Horosia do. So this could put him probably with his teammate on the 4th row. There is a big gap of 6.5 tenths between Tom to Oren. Round the final corner then for Cal, with just under 8 minutes left of the session. It's going to be a 1 minute 30.7 to put himself 2.2 down. And now Ridian will start his lap. Still yet to do a lap. Nathan's still in the pit lane. Oren crossing his lap to maybe go again. The Red Bull of Frosty Life now beginning his lap. So we'll see what Tom can do. Up by nearly 3 tenths. This could potentially get him up to P5. Crosses the line now. It is P5. But still a second off. That's a big gap between P4 to P5 of 8 tenths. As the other Ferrari of Gekkeberg starts another lap. And we'll see Noah cross the line too. Morgan, he's flying. What about drifting then? Crossing the line, he's down or just starting a lap. So here we go then, Morgan. Let's see what he can do. After doing his inter-run, 2.7 up, needs another half a second. But obviously he did his run on inters, so I'm sure he can find the time. This will be very close between him and Gekkeberg's 28.4. Crosses the line, it's a 28.4 as well by 38 thousandths. Morgan has put his car on pole position. He's never been on pole as Morgan. He had his chance in Brazil, but lost it by 1,000th to this man. Coming around the final corner. Now it's Seb's turn in the RB. The newly rebranded car, the newly rebranded team. Same driver though, and he takes provisional pole by just under 1/10.5. Seb back on top now. What about Gekkeberg? Down by 18 thousandths in the first sector as he's in front of both McLarens. We'll see what he can do in the middle. Still pushing, still giving it all. Can he find any time in the middle set to split? No, he's down by 2 tenths. Ridian by 5 thousandths now goes in front of his teammate for today. Ridian up there then, showing that he has the pace. Good stuff to see. The top 7 now very close, which is awesome. Let's see, what about drifting? Up by half a second at the moment. That would definitely get him above Tom, but he would need a mighty final sector to find a lot more time to get anywhere close to the top 7. Drifting, who showed a lot of improvement over the course of last season, got his first podium, could have been his first win, crosses the line as Noah goes P8, now Drifting replaces him, and only half a second off, so the gap is closing. But there is a 3/10 gap between 7th to 8th to 9th, 2/10 really. Eggy, down in P11 at the moment, obviously started this last season off with 3 or 4 podiums in a row. Fighting for 3rd on the last lap here, currently down in 11th. Nathan, the only driver yet to sell out at the moment then. Seb, as we head into the final run soon. I've just realised Frosty Life has gone onto the front row in front of Morgan. Frosty Life then, who's had 12 pole positions. The record is 15. And he'll be going for that record this season, and you never know what he could achieve. Gekkeberg's had 3 poles. Seb's had 3 poles. And Cal has had 1 pole. So those are your pole sitters on this current 15-man grid. So we'll see who can take it today. And can we have a new pole sitter in EXFL Tier 2 Season 9 to start the season? Cal obviously hasn't touched the game in a week, so he's just going to have to try his best, which is understandable. And it is still very close then. The 2 Ferraris, Morgan, Frosty, Seb, as well as Billy. Don't discount him because I believe that's still his first run. We have just over 4 minutes left in the session. And Seb and Morgan, they were level last season on 199 points for 3rd in the standings. Morgan beat Seb due to having 2 wins to Seb's 1. Morgan, who won his 2nd and 3rd race, obviously joining last season as a rookie. Getting a podium on his debut in Miami, and then winning Imola and Spain, I think, after. Or Canada, one of them. But yeah, hasn't won since then, has had quite a few podiums. He was actually going to get promoted to Tier 1, but couldn't make it because he was in another league. So we gave him another chance, and it looks like he fits better in here because obviously he said he was struggling on this new game. A lot of people were. And I think the right choice was his to defend that. And looks like Noah tried to go up for another lap, but he's clearly backed off now. Bluey down in P13, 6 thousandths in front of Cal. 4/10 off Oren, who's 7/10 off Eggy. Tom, who still needs to find a bit of time, currently on the edge of the top 10. As we'll wait for the drivers to exit for the final time, just under 3 minutes left of the session. Morgan is the first of the top 8 out on track. Should show us his onboard in a sec as he weaves into turn 1. There we go. Two minutes 30 left on the clock then. Hope everyone who's watching is having a good evening and getting ready to enjoy the final few minutes of qualifying for the opening round of Tier 2 Season 9 on F1 24. It's a long season ahead of us. The 5th season in a row, 22 races, keeping it consistent. As we have a gaggle of cars entering turn 1, led by Horosia, now letting the Ferrari go, as the Williams and the Red Bull. So who can be the biggest shocker qualifying? Who can spring themselves higher than what was once predicted? At the moment, the biggest surprise, I'd probably say Ridian. As all, we have a spinner there, as Ridian takes out the boards. Is that Nathan, or is that Oren? That's Oren. In the Aston Martin, as his teammate Nathan then begins his one and only lap. The only driver yet to set a lap in qualifying. Down into turn 1 then for Nathan. If he can get it into the top 10, I'm sure that'll be a great qualifying for him. But he's going to need to do quite a lap. As the Red Bull coming into the pit lane there of Noah. So everyone else on a lap. We have Ridian, who's going to be next across the line. Nathan heading through the first sector now. And the Mercedes of... That's Billy. I believe Billy will be the last to cross the line then. As we have Frosty... no, that's Noah heading out again. So we'll look back to Nathan. As we have about a minute left on the board for those to get round and start their lap. I believe a Ferrari's just started his lap right behind Williams there. Is that Bluey? Bluey pulls out. So that's given Gekkeberg a bit of a slipstream actually heading into turn 1. We'll see how that favours him later on. As also a Red Bull starting his lap right behind an RB. So that's Frosty right behind Seb. Bit of an interesting toe game as Nathan is unfortunately invalidated, so he will start the Grand Prix in last and 15th place. So Billy, yeah, he definitely will be the last to cross the line unless Nathan can get another run in. As we see Cal will also be one of the last to cross the line. So we're looking forward to the front, and it seems like it's Noah with 6 seconds remaining. I fear his AI might take over in front of Ridian. Pulls over. Hopefully it's got out the way. So we'll see Ridian then cross the line. Hopefully that Red Bull won't cause any issues. Round the final corner then for Ridian. He's currently just under 2/10 off provisional pole. It's a 28.2 to beat. Across the line comes the Ferrari. It's going to be a 1 minute 28.0. Ridian now onto provisional pole by 2/10. And that's going to take some beating. But Morgan by now 2/10 takes it away from Ridian on the front row for now still. Across the line it's Tom for P10. His teammate currently halfway done with his lap. Now, what about Gekkeberg, who got a slipstream, who's only up by a 10th? He's going to need to find a lot of time in the last sector to take away Morgan's first ever pole across the line. Gekkeberg stays P5. Morgan remains on pole. What about drifting then through the last sector? Here come the 2 Red Bulls. What can Frosty do? He's up by 2/10 and he's getting a little bit of a slip from Seb. Across the line, is it pole for Seb? It's the front row. What about Frosty? P4. Across the line, Ferrosio goes P5. Now what about drifting across the line? Looks like he's down, he spins over the line. Now we see what Billy can do, as well as Sven. Here comes Sven, stays P11 for now. Here comes Cal then, last season's pole sitter, up by half a second. Can he get it into the top 10 across the line? It's P12 for Cal. Now there's just one driver left and it's Billy by 3/10 down. So it seems like Morgan by 66 thousandths for the first time in EXFL Tier 2 takes pole position. What a great qualifying, 67 thousandths between the two that a lot as well as myself predicted would be the top 2. It's Morgan versus Seb, and it's Morgan taking his first pole position. Ridian P3, that is a brilliant effort. Frosty Life on the front, the second row. Horosia top 5. Gekabel, who was P1 for quite a bit of it, will start in 6th. Yeah, that's Nathan 6th. Billy 7th, Drifting 8th, Noah 9th, and Tom completes the top 10. Hoping we don't have any restart issues, but this is a new game, so obviously that can be expected. But fingers crossed, we're in for a 29 lap uninterrupted race. And let's see who's bravest on the brakes into turn 1. Hopefully, we're expecting carnage. We want a bit of carnage, but not too much carnage. But here we go then. The players will be loading in, changing their setups, fuel loads, and strategy. We have waited 21 days, 3 weeks since the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. We've returned to the Middle East in Bahrain for once again the start of another EXFL Tier 2 season. This is Season 9 on F124, the 5th game of the league. And here we go then. We're only a few moments out. We'll wait for the ticking sounds to emerge. Can Morgan convert his first pole into victory? What will Seb have to say about it? I'm sure they'll give us a good fight. As Ridian and Frosty on the second row will also try to challenge. And seems like it's taking a second. We've got Ridian and Frosty on the mediums, Billy on the hards, most on the soft compound tyres, Nathan also on the hard compound tyres. Just waiting for them to ready up, I guess. And if we have to restart, we will, but hopefully not. Here we go then. There are the ticking noises. This is round 1 of 22. This is EXFL Tier 2, Season 9. It is the Bahrain Grand Prix. With the 5 lights on and the revs rise. It's lights out and away we go. A brilliant start for Morgan ahead of Seb. Going off in the background is the Aston Martin of Oren. Into turn 1 then. Morgan's clearing away as down the inside Ridian challenges Seb. As well as the Ferrari sliding. Gekabel challenging Erosia into P4. Morgan is gone and away ahead of Ridian, and then Seb and Erosia, and then Gekabel. Tom up to 6. What a brilliant start for him. Then both Mercedes, as Eggy's also made up some ground as Gekabel fights Erosia into turn 4. Down the inside goes the Mercedes as Frosty has had an awful start down to P9. Callum fighting with drifting in P11 and 12. Pretty bad start for the Alpine as his teammate 1.1 seconds already in front of the Dutch Dodo as well as Oren have gone off as Eggy and Frosty fight for P8 right behind his teammate. Frosty now down to 10th, ghosting. Seems like he's made a mistake. Nathan up to P9. Brilliant start for the Aston Martin as they're all just trying to keep it on the track. Morgan never looked back from the start as we'll enable all of this. Biggest gainer at the moment. It is Nathan up 6 places from P15. As the biggest loser at the moment is unfortunately Frosty as well as Noah, both Red Bulls losing a lot of ground. So yeah, Seb just didn't get the getaway he wanted. Both Ferraris making up ground. Erosia stayed where he was. Tom has made quite a few good starts. Is going off there is Billy, I believe, and the other Mercedes going offline. Are they swapping? They are. Eggy seems like he's got better momentum and goes to the inside as well as 2 compounds softer of tyre as well to help him. Obviously we have a new ERS system, so this is going to change a lot as Gekabel already using his to get up into P3 ahead of Seb. Closes the door as Seb will stay behind for now. So that is lap 1 done of the Bahrain Grand Prix. The 2 Mercedes fighting away with Nathan and Frosty, who's got to gain some ground back. Already a 2-second lead for Morgan on the soft compound tyre. Ridian on the mediums. As Seb on the hard compound tyres. That's why he lost a lot of ground, and that's why Morgan at the moment is making the most of his tyres. There we go. Right. So the hards for Seb and Billy. Nathan decided to switch to the softs, and what a good idea that was. He's made up so much ground. As 2-second gap for Ridian, who's 63% ahead of Gekabel, is saving his battery already. And then Horosia to follow. Seb just needs to stick with these guys as he is going long on the hard compound tyres. but Tom, I'm sure, will want to get more, as there's a yellow at the back of Noah. Not having a great opening race, then losing the rear again. Obviously, new game, he's lost his right end plate, as well as Oren, who spun right off the line. Bluey currently on the back of the train, 1.2 off drifting. I'm sure he'll make his way up as the two Ferraris now swap, heading into the final corner. Gekabelg on the soft compound tyres, making his way back up in front of Ridian. So it's the two Ferraris then leading the train, but Morgan flying on those soft compound tyres, but Gekabelg is quicker by just under half a tenth, so it shows how close it is, but how much you could lose as Erosia round the outside, banging wheels with Ridian a little bit. Can he make the move stick as Nathan fights Billy? Brilliant move from Erosia round the outside to get up into the top three. Ridian, like Seb, just trying to hold on the worst tyres for now, but they'll come into their own later on as fighting once more. Nathan and Billy to the inside. Billy back ahead of the Aston Martin. Can Nathan switch back on the soft compound tyres? He's going to try. They're wheel to wheel as they head in to turn 7. Billy around the outside shows the bravery he's got to get back up in a P8, as Nathan just has to stay behind for now, but good battling between the two for P8. As yeah, 2.5 between Gekabelg and Morgan. The last thing Morgan needs now is a safety car. A VSC would help him nicely to preserve the tyre life. But yeah, Erosia doing very well as well to get up and split the Ferraris. Seb still holding in 5th. Eggy still trying to put Tom under pressure, who's not really attacking Seb at the moment. And I'm just trying to keep an eye on their battery. Who's trying to use, who's saving. Definitely both Mercedes are saving. Billy might have to use a bit to get back up within a second, as he's outside of it and vulnerable on slower tyres. As here we go then, Eggy making a move on Tom. It's good to see his race pace, but Tom will try a switch back with better momentum, as well as Rosie. He's going to try and get the next Ferrari. Frosty versus Nathan gets in front of him, as Eggy's blasting his battery to keep in front of Tom. No change of position into the top 5. But here comes Tom round the outside to challenge back in front of Eggy. Eggy breaks later. Tom will try the switch back. Or Willie will go to the inside. Eggy will leave him the room, and they'll remain wheel to wheel through turn 3. Who gets the DRS? It is Tom. But can he fly past enough? Will he be later on the brakes? Yes, he will, to go round the outside of the Mercedes, who locks up. Can Tom make the move stick? I think he has, but he's still there wheel to wheel with Eggy. Will he leave him the room round the outside? Dips his tyre into the McLaren, but the McLaren stays in front. Good racing us down the inside. Billy on his teammate, currently still in 7th and 8th, bit like real life when it was the Bahrain Grand Prix, fighting with the McLaren, but at the moment no contact besides there as Eggy slightly hits Tom, but no love lost. Good action, good racing from them at the moment, as this battle is really letting Seb breathe a little. He can just stick with these guys because it's a 3-second gap now due to that battle, which has helped all the way down to drifting keep within a second of the DRS train. Gekabelg showing he has a bit better race pace, but obviously using a bit more battery to help, and he's towing Erosia along as well as they're closing in on Morgan. Pit stop should be a 1-stop, but we will just see. It's a new game, you never know. Seb closing in on Ridian, but look at that, he's used everything he has to just keep with them as Erosia. Will he try a move on Gekabelg round the outside? The Sauber gets in front and gets up in a P2. We have a yellow of Oren, I believe, in the final corner. Ridian still in front of Seb, but yeah, Erosia now up in the second. Eggy still in front of Tom. Billy, then Frosty, Nathan, Cal drifting, and Bluey 7.4 down, unfortunately. Just trying to get the mileage in as Oren looks like he's really struggling. Now under 2 seconds then between Morgan to Erosia on lap 5. And it seems like Erosia and Gekabelg are just trying to help each other, with a massive lockup from Erosia as Ridian's just trying to keep in front of Seb, who's trying a switch back now, but has to stay behind. Does he dare to the inside? It wouldn't really help his race, as we can see the lockups happening from the Tier 2 drivers, trying to limit and restrict some of their assists to get quicker, which is great to see. Eggy has closed it from 3.1 down to 2.4, to be fair, as obviously Seb is the target, getting held up by Ridian, who's now 2 seconds behind his teammate for this race, and he's actually putting a bit of a dent to Seb's potential grasp of that podium again after starting P2. And when will the softs wear out, as it looks like Morgan using a bit more battery. Looks like we're having a three-way fight as Seb gets in front of Ridian, but Ridian might have the DRS as he got him before the line. He does indeed. Seb splashing, Ridian knows it, and this should be quite an easy pass for the Ferrari to the inside as yellow of Noah going off there. Unfortunate for both Oren and Noah. Cal gets in front of Nathan, and down the inside, Billy trying to get ahead of Tom. Will he leave him the room? Just about, as more yellows for Noah. Still banging side pod to wheel, but it's Billy versus Tom then on the run down to turn 4, and Frosty's got front row tickets for this as Ridian and Seb are fighting, and to the inside, the Mercedes and the McLaren still wheel to wheel. Seb gets in front of Ridian now. Billy versus Tom. Are they going to leave enough room? It's Tom in front. Batteries died as that was a bit of an important moment. Contact between Billy and Tom then, as it looks like Noah's about to get lapped. So Billy gets ahead of Tom, who's now under pressure from Frosty. So yeah, there was a bit of contact into the hairpin between the Mercedes and the McLaren, but it has meant that Billy is ahead of the McLaren now. Oh, there is Noah. Was he just waiting for them to go by? I think so. Very unfortunate race so far for Noah. He might just go into the pits and retire. Try again another week. Right then, the first bit of actual contact action there, down into the hairpin. But now the gap is stabilising. It's gotten a bit bigger actually. Horosia versus Gekabelg is going for the move on the Sauber, and it's a pretty easy one. But he comes back down the inside and he tangles with Gekabelg, which really hasn't helped them because they've lost 4/10. So Horosia, instead of working together with the Ferrari to close in on the leader, decided to send it late, make a bit of contact, but the charge is still not over. And they're not a million miles away as Noah's retired on the track, but hopefully that shouldn't cause anything. So yeah, look at that, they're already closing the gap back to Morgan. 70%, so he's clearly saving the battery. He knows they're going to catch soon. Seb 2.5 off, he's saved a bit, as Ridian saved all his battery. Eggy 1.8 behind. As seems to be a battle at the back between Oren and Bluey. Oren gets ahead of the Williams driver. Cal and Drifting remaining where they are behind Nathan, who's now losing time to the guys in front after a brilliant start. Now just trying to scrap for the point position that he's in. And Frosty trying to get ahead of Tom, who looks like he's just falling a bit backwards at the moment after also making up a brilliant start. Frosty's got to get in gear as Callum now gets ahead of Nathan and into the points finish, but loses the rear, as so does Drifting. He's gone. Can he keep out of the wall? Just about a light tap, but that shouldn't be any damage for him, as all three of them seem to lose the car there. I don't know if there was contact between Drifting and Nathan, but if so, that's left Drifting seconds behind, as does Horosia try on Gekabel. Not quite, but it's 1.3 now. 73, 27, 65. Gekabel using a bit just to stay in front for now. The gap staying constant. You wouldn't discount Seb out of this at the moment, as Frosty versus Tom, as Tom has the momentum to stay in front. Frosty over the curb there, might be a warning. Does he have enough momentum with full battery? And gaining in the DRS to the inside of the McLaren, the Red Bull versus the McLaren. Tom around the outside just gives Frosty enough space, and once again we're going to see two drivers go wheel to wheel on the exit into turn 5. And can Tom hang it around the outside of Frosty? Of course he can! Tom Davies gets it back in the P8. Does Frosty try to the inside? Yes, he does. What a send from Frosty, but Tom will come with the switchback and will get back up in a P8. And can Frosty hold it to the inside? Or will he hang about? No, he is going to show him the inside, but Tom again counters it and gets back in front. They don't really care about losing the time as the two Mercedes are on their own. But good battle between Tom and Frosty, as this is allowing Cal to actually gain on them. So yeah, Tom stays in front for now. Lap 8, as the soft runners will start to feel the wear, as you can clearly tell it's happening, because Seb's now gained half a second as Billy and Eggy swap at the same place they did on lap 1 or 2. It's swapped round this time because this is probably the moment where the softs are wearing out, and Herosia's gone for the undercut then on lap 8 to 9. He's going to have to do 20 laps on what I'm going to assume is the hards, as Billy and Eggy swap again, I think, or not. As look at that, Frosty is on his own because Tom's now into the pit lane too for another set of softs. Interesting. What did Horosia go on to? Mediums. So Tom is doing the 2-stop. Horosia is on mediums, and it could be soft, medium, soft. It could be soft, soft, medium. It could be a 2-stop then. And whenever I go on board with someone in the pit lane, my controller vibrates. That's new. That wasn't there last season. 1.1 seconds then between Gekkeberg to Morgan. 20% less battery. But yeah, Gekkeberg doing a good job at the moment after starting down in 6th, showing why he's still got the skills and the race pace and why he belongs in this tier still. It's good to see a world champion actually fighting in another season of tier 2. Seb has lost a bit of time to the top 2, but yeah, he's going long. If it actually is a 2-stop, Seb and Billy are definitely going for the 1-stop. As we see Bluey fighting with Oren. 100% versus 16%. So is Morgan pitting? Yes, he is. As will Gekkeberg as well. Hopefully they don't speed. All good. Seb will take the lead then, as he's got Ridian still behind him. As coming into the pit lane, it's actually the second Mercedes driver of Eggy. Of course it is, because he's on softs to Billy's hards. As Ridian on the mediums, the front runner for the medium tyre, and then followed by Frosty Life. So this race has got a lot more interesting in terms of the strategy aspect, as where will Morgan and Gekkeberg come out then? There is Morgan's teammate in front of him. There is Horosia, and there is Morgan, and it's going to be very close between the two. Horosia round the outside of Morgan, who's just going to keep in front, but Horosia down the inside gets in front of Morgan, who has to go off because the space hasn't been left by the Sauber, who's now in front of the Alpine and keeps in front for now. I got a little nip and tuck there. But Horosia, in the end of it, is in front, has got ahead of what was the leader. And Horosia now takes the provisional lead, but Morgan's teammate in front of him will either help him by DRS or slow him down. And what will Morgan do? How quickly can he get past him as well? As here we go into the DRS. Morgan, will he use his battery? Because Horosia definitely will, to try and get past Alex, who's defending to the inside. Round the outside goes the Sauber, making more contact slightly as they bang wheels, and that sends Drifting off a little bit, allows Morgan through. Drifting, who tried as much as he could there to defend, just has to stay behind and will probably pit now. A full pit stop behind his teammate. Morgan will definitely try and get past Horosia on the straight, as Gekkeberg has lost some time to them. The top 3, 4 staying out as they are, and Morgan seems like he's going to take back the lead here. Horosia, we know how aggressive he can be, but the DRS from Morgan should allow him to fly by, and it does. To take back the net lead, as yeah, Gekkeberg's lost quite a bit of time. Does Horosia go back to the inside like he did on the Ferrari? No, he's going to stay behind for now, as Tom flying on those new softs, as well as Eggy also pitted onto softs. So they're both going soft, soft. I'm going to guess medium for the end. Cal, who's pitted onto softs as well, doing the same thing, drifting onto the hards, so he'll go to the end. And yeah, Seb will probably be doing the hard medium strat, Ridian the medium hard strat. It's going to be very interesting to see if these lot can catch the leaders, as the gap is 17 seconds to Seb, but they're going to be much quicker. Yeah, look at that, 5th, 6th and 7th, their fastest laps all in the same 10th. Gekkeberg actually quicker than them, but for some reason he's just lost a bit of time. As Cal and Nathan are fighting, heading up into turn 9 and 10. Seems like Nathan's got back ahead of the McLaren. It's good to see Nathan fighting. But Cal will have the DRS, but will he be close enough? As Seb starts another lap, I don't think he is. As Nathan does go defensive just in case. So closest battle still Horosia versus Morgan, as Ridian is in on the mediums. Will Frosty follow him? No, he'll stay out. Still no VSC or safety car so far as we approach the halfway stage of the race. Morgan now fastest lap, 31.1. As Horosia is gaining, but not enough. And Morgan will stay in front for now, as where will Ridian emerge on the hard compound tyres. There is Eggy, there is Tom, and he'll emerge in between the two. And that should be fine. He'll get the DRS still because he was behind Seb. So yeah, he's just got to close up to the back of Eggy, but obviously Eggy for the next few laps will be quick, as Nathan and Cal are fighting again, and Nathan seems like he's once again got ahead with the DRS as well. But he's got nothing left, as he has Cal to the inside with plenty more battery for P10. Takes it back from Nathan, who will try a switch back. Cal loses the rear, and that allows Nathan back in front. As they're also sliding a bit, Ridian in P8. Closest battle of the top 8 is still Horosia versus Morgan. 2.7 behind is Gekkeberg. I wonder if he's just looking after his tyres. Because if they're to not stop again, they're going to have to do about 20 laps on mediums. And at the moment it's Alpine versus Sauber, as we'll await the top 3 to pit in about a lap or 2. Maybe even 3. Well, Frosty definitely in a lap or 2. Maybe Billy and Seb are hanging out, as 17 seconds has now gone down to 14.7. As we have a yellow flag, but it's orange just, I think, resetting. And yeah, any sort of safety car now would... It's either a 50-50. At this rate, I'd say it would help the top 3. Obviously, track position and all. But yeah, it would throw a spanner in the works. We had a lot of races last season. Brazil was a big one where something was going to happen and then a safety car changed it all. But that is the case a lot of the time. And sometimes it's for the better. As Horosia and Morgan close in on Frosty. Can Morgan overtake him at the right time? Seems like they've caught him on a DRS straight as they're heading up to it. As Callum versus Nathan again for P10. Morgan in the slipstream now, Frosty. Morgan, Frosty saving his battery, now using it. Looks like Morgan will be waiting for the start-finish straight. As Frosty will be holding them up a little bit, and Morgan might have to overtake him before we get to the next lap. Horosia closing as Frosty loses the rear, nearly takes out Morgan in the process, and now is in between him and Horosia, who makes slight contact. That was so close to Frosty absolutely wiping out Morgan, but luckily he avoids him, and now it might be a good time to pit for Frosty, as Morgan just about survives. And that's put a little bit of a 10th gap between the two as Frosty does come in to the pit lane. That has helped Gekkeberg gain a little bit, about half a second, as Horosia is gaining on Morgan but can't quite do anything to the inside. 13.7 gained another second. Frosty dropping back down the order on the hard compound tyres to go to the end as we're at the halfway stage of the Grand Prix. Billy 6.1 to Seb, who's currently just out in front, trying to push as much as he can, but he's preserved the tyres. Callum and Nathan fighting once again for the point. There comes Frosty out the pit lane, and will he be behind the pair of them? He sends it to the inside, right in front of Cal, makes contact with the McLaren. He wants to keep the track position as Nathan urges his way through Cal, and now is fighting with Frosty, who's just trying to get in front of them so he can use his tyres and get away, and for now that's what he has done. So Frosty keeps hold of ninth, just about, in front of Nathan and Cal. Get me out of my party. So yeah, Frosty, he might come under pressure from the DRS, but he's got so much more battery than Nathan, but Cal's got a full battery too. So we approach the literal halfway stage from 14 to 15, and Seb once again staying out. It depends if he's going to go onto the mediums in a couple laps or the softs in about 5 laps time and be very quick, as well as Billy. Morgan closing in the gap. If there is a VSC, that will definitely help Seb and Billy a ton. As Horosia is gaining now, and he looks a lot closer this time round, and he'll go to the inside of the Alpine. Morgan versus Horosia then. And looks like Horosia is going to take the lead away from Morgan. He'll try a switch, slight contact between front to rear wheel as Horosia slides out of turn 3. And Morgan will gain again, but it looks like he's not close enough for a move. Frosty nearly a second in front of Nathan, who can't really do much to defend. Cal's going to gain a bit. He's used half his battery. Nathan trying to break the toe. Cal to the inside. Will he send it? Of course he will. Down the inside goes the McLaren on the Aston Martin, who hangs it back around the outside. Cal will try for a switch, but backs off too much. And keeps him P11 for now. Right, so Eggy has to pit again. Tom has to pit again. Ridian not looking too bad between the two. And if Seb were to pit, he'd come out around about where these guys are. As we have a yellow. Oh, and it's Cal, who's spun round. And it is not a good opening race for the season for the McLaren driver. It was pretty much damage limitation. I don't know if he did that on his own or if that was with Nathan. It is a corner they have been struggling with, as has Noah, the only retirement of the race so far. Bluey just trying to keep it on track as well. Drifting almost in the points, just has to gain another couple seconds on Nathan as Morgan and Erosia fight to turn one. Morgan takes back the lead in front of the Sauber. So they swap again, currently in P3, but they are the net leaders. Currently 13 seconds off, so they haven't actually gained that much on the top two in the last few laps. Erosia coming back around the outside on Morgan. Will he try a switch back to the Alpine? If he has the momentum, he does, and he will try alongside the Alpine as the two net leaders go into turn 6, and Erosia takes it back from Morgan, who gets caught on the curb there. Morgan just trying to avoid any sort of collision, because he's seen what Erosia's done so far this race. A little bit here and there, as Cal has unfortunately gone into the pit lane and retired, as well as Bluey's going to come into the pit lane too. But that might just be for a change of tyres, I don't know. 7 laps on mediums. Lap 16, about to be 17. When will Seb pit? That is the next big key in the race. And it looks like Bluey's pitting onto the hards to go to the end. So, round the final corner then for Seb, who's extending his gap to Billy. And he stays out for another lap. As it's going to be very interesting to see where they come out and if they can catch these guys. A lockup from Erosia. Morgan will have the better exit, and it looks like he will pass him. As Gekkerbelg, the gap staying kind of constant still between him to Morgan and Erosia, who pulls out now to the inside to get back past the Sauber. Erosia still keeping his nose in there, but yeah, Morgan gets in front of the Sauber, who's going to have DRS and gain back a little bit on the Alpine, but he's not close enough for a move as Tom back in again for the mediums. Eggy, oh, yellow for Oren, as Frosty, as well as Nathan and Drifting, should be ahead of Tom. So here we go then, Drifting, fighting Nathan, he's caught him, he's going around the outside. Is the Alpine on the Aston Martin. Now he'll have better momentum to go to the inside, but Nathan hangs it around the outside as Drifting didn't quite get the power on and gets the DRS. Nathan putting on a great show today in terms of battling, and it's great to see him up into the points and fighting. I'm sure Tom will be gaining on them pretty quickly. And yeah, Eggy's going to start to feel those softs wear away soon. But it's been a pretty good race from Eggy as well. It's unfortunate you'll have to make another stop. This is something we haven't seen really since last season at the start, where Eggy's been up there showing he has the pace, but yeah, obviously on a 2-stop where both of them have been soft so far. He's still going to have to do it again. These two are not really making implements. If anything, they're pulling away now, as going off there is Erosia. Speaking of which, no one's got a time penalty yet, so that's something. Morgan breaking the toe a little bit. Is Erosia going to go for it to the inside on Morgan? No, he's going to stay behind for now, and nearly goes right into the back of him as Eggy does pit. So it seems like the softs can only do 7 laps. So yeah, that is probably why a few started on mediums or hards. As you can see, no one's on the softs now. And it depends for Billy and Seb. If they pit in the next 4 laps, they'll be on mediums. If they can go 5 more laps, they'll be on the softs. As the gap is going down a little bit now. They are closing on Billy, who's losing so much time to Seb. Seb is keeping those tyres alive. His brilliant management at the moment. We said it would be Seb versus Morgan. Erosia and Gekkerbelg are along for that ride, as Gekkerbelg's taken a 4/10 to the gap for them, but he is. No, he's not. He's got his battery's fine. All three of them are pretty similar. Ridian, unfortunately, just hasn't had the pace to keep up with at the moment. As we'll see Seb round the final corner with just over 10 laps to go. Then is this the moment where he pits for mediums, or does he stay out for another lap? He will, as we've got a yellow of drifting going off there. The second time this evening he's gone off, and he was fighting with Tom there. I don't know if there was contact. But Tom up into the points again, and he's closing on Eggy, who's going to try and get past Nathan soon, as they've both pitted. Morgan 3.1 to Billy. Horosia gaining on Morgan again. Does he go to the inside? No, he's going to stay behind for now. But hit Morgan again into turn 1. Struggling with braking. And that's helping Gekabel gain a little bit. You can see how much battery Gekabel's using on the straight compared to the two in front of him. 9.4 seconds now. Seb currently 12.3 in front. Seb will easily come out in 5th behind these three, and it'll be 4th when Billy pits. So Seb, who started on the front row, looking to go long and go big or go home, because he's putting the risk of having to, if he's going to get on the podium, he needs to do it through overtaking. And we've seen a bit of a reformed Seb in the past couple seasons. The odd podium sitter has now gone to challenging for poles, challenging for wins, finding more, discovering, pushing the limit of what is possible in that car for him. And now he goes into the season for the first time as one of the favourites for the World Championship. And in that stunningly beautiful RB car, reformed from AlphaTauri, he finally comes into the pit lane. Hasn't bottled it, hasn't sped. Let's see if Billy can do the same. As yeah, he'll pit as well. Right, so this should be the medium compound tyre, which it is. Billy also pits now for the mediums as well. So the top two will now take over the top 2 spots. Morgan in the lead, then Erosia, then Gekabel, and here comes Seb then. There is Ridian in the background. It's going to be a bit close between him and the Ferrari, but he should be in front as Ridian watches him. But Billy will emerge back behind in P6. There is Frosty Life, but Billy has hung on to 6 as well. So going long has helped these two get at least a top 6 finish. But now it's down to Seb. With 10 lap fresher mediums, he's going to have to close in on a 10-second gap. With 10 laps to go, he needs a second every rotation. And obviously, Horosia and Morgan will be DRS training one another, which helps them. 31.1, Seb should beat that in a lap or two. As yeah, the charge from the RB begins. Gekabel might not be too hard of an option, hard of a car to get past because he's on his own. It will depend when he gets up to Horosia and Morgan. So current rundown, Morgan leads from Horosia 1-2, as Horosia made his way through, started 5th, has made his way up 2nd, as was Gekabel. Oh my god, I've completely forgot they're going to have to pit again. It's a 2-stop, isn't it, if you've started on the softs. So Seb's won pretty much then, I think. I thought they were going to the end, honestly, but guess not. Right then, this will be close. So Morgan and Erosia come into the pit lane for softs, as well as Gekabel. Seb will retake the lead, and he's going to have quite a gap on them of what it was previously. Ridian staying out then in P2. Can he hold off to get P2? Billy gets promoted to P3 then, but Morgan and Erosia come out pretty close to him, but a bit of a gap separates them. We have a yellow of Oren, and the safety car could still all change this. Completely forgot about some of them are on a 2-stop. Morgan 14 seconds behind Seb then, as Tom and Eggy are fighting for P8. Eggy to the inside, trying to get back at Tom, but Tom has got the place done on the better tyres. So yeah, Gekabel, Erosia and Morgan, who all started on the softs, pit for mediums, going back onto the softs then. 2-stop was in their plan. If you run the softs at all, pretty much, then it looks like it was going to be a 2-stop for this race. And at the moment, that brilliant stint from Seb on the hards has managed to have quite the gap to the rest. And now Seb is 10 laps away from, well, 9 laps away, soon to be 8, from starting the season off in style. His teammate Josh Hewitt won the opening round last season in the AlphaTauri and began his championship charges. There it is, by 4/10 Seb. And Ridian, maybe he can just hang on to those charging behind. I'm sure Morgan or Rosier will try and set the fastest lap. Morgan's actually flying as he's left to Rosier by another second. But it's instead of Seb now catching Morgan and Rosier, it's now these two trying to catch Seb. 12.9 as it was nearly 14 seconds. So Gekabel gets in front of Frosty Life. Pretty easy pass there. Can Morgan gain enough, or are those softs going to wear out by the end? Eggy in front of Tom. And here's the key thing. If there is a safety car, surely those who have pitted again for softs have used up all theirs. So whatever happens from here on out, Seb is looking good. And hang on, let me just quickly check the wins. As Seb has entered his 112th Grand Prix. He's the most experienced driver in EXFL Tier 2 history. We have 9 out of the 10 of the top 10 on the grid this season. Obviously the one we don't have is Logan, who's gone up to Tier 1, the world champion of last season. Seb, who's on 2 wins currently. He got his first win in the one race I didn't commentate back in Tier 2 Season 6 at Baku. No, Tier 2 Season 5 at Baku. And then 1.5 years later in Miami, he turned his first pole into his second victory and got another pole or 2 later on in the season. Missed out on pole by 66 thousandths to Morgan, who's flying on those new tyres and will fly past Billy for P3 and get back onto the podium at least. These two who are still theoretically the main 2, as they were the top 2 minus the promotions from last season in the standings. Morgan versus Seb, you couldn't separate them of points last time, and at the moment it just looks like Morgan's not going to have enough laps to gain on Seb, who's got newer rubber, and Morgan can still gain on Ridian to make it Morgan and Seb in the top 2. But can Ridian hold on to the podium is a other key thing, or can Billy get a third as Tom fighting Eggy into turn 4. It always looks like there's going to be contact from the offboard, but Tom has got in front of Eggy. And talking about Tier 2 in the last season and a bit, the battling has just been so much better. They've been so much more aware of leaving space, battling fair, not causing too many crashes. And it's a joy to see as getting lapped there is Oren, who's not had a great time. Bluey is in 12th, and I don't know, if 2 people decided to cause a big crash, that would promote him into the points. Is Billy lapped? Is Bluey lapped? I don't think so. No, he's not, no. So Seb giving Oren a bit of DRS there. Morgan already 1.9 behind Ridian. The gap to first and third 11.3 with only 5 and a bit laps to go. And Rosier just hasn't seemed to kick those tyres on, pun unintended. But yeah, he was fighting with Morgan for so long, and obviously in the pit stops things spread out a bit more as Eggy and Tom have their 3rd or 4th fight in the last couple laps as Eggy gets back in front of the McLaren. Good battle to see so far. They're getting some solid points, and it's great to see Nathan hanging on to that point, but can he, by the end, is drifting after 2 spins today. A point might just make him feel a bit better. But yeah, Nathan, I'm sure a point for him would be great. And that'll close in, as we're drifting earlier as well. As Morgan, speaking of closing in, is right on the back of Ridian. Does he wait until the start-finish straight to get past, or has he got that much more momentum that he can just get ahead of Ridian? Looks like he's staying behind for now. Billy closing in while this happens, and Morgan just has to be careful as he goes a bit wide there. And will stay behind for now. Will he overtake before the line? That's going to be the big key. Ridian backs off, so he'll get the DRS. Hit the back of Morgan a little bit there as well for good measure. So Morgan back up in a second. Will blast his battery, but Ridian might actually come back at Morgan here and get back up in a second. To the inside then. Ridian doing all he can, and it looks like this is going to help Seb cement the victory. And Ridian back up in front of Morgan, but Morgan will get a better exit and tag Ridian a little bit, which is holding Morgan up even more. He'll have the DRS this time, but Ridian, will he flash his battery to keep in front? I don't think he even needs to. He's got the momentum, and it looks like Morgan will have to settle for second at this rate because he's losing hand over time. And Seb in dreamland at the moment. Ridian trying to fight for this podium. And the more he can keep Morgan behind, the more Billy is going to gain. He's gained so much on these guys. And if Morgan's softs do die out in 3 or 4 laps time, Billy could see himself beating one of the top 2 on the grid. But now here comes Morgan with much more battery, the DRS really, that's all he's got actually. But to the inside then, Morgan to the inside of Ridian, who will try the switch back with much more battery. But Billy is also on the cards for this P2 scrap. Morgan is in front, but for how much longer as we enter the last sector and the DRS is coming up soon. Ridian runs wide there, might be a warning. Defense from Billy, 90%, 75%, 71%. Morgan, just like last lap, going to come under pressure from Ridian, who slides out the final corner. Billy's going to have a double slipstream here, but it seems like Ridian's running much lower wings because look how much he's gaining as we have a yellow of Oren. To the inside, Ridian back in a P2, and Billy stays behind for now. And Morgan hangs it round the outside of the Ferrari. Will get given the space. Will have the DRS now to get back up in a second. And but look at those lower wings for Ridian to keep up with the Alpine. But Morgan now is up in the P2. But can he keep it? These next few corners are critical for how much he can gain. Ridian struggling on 14-lap-old hard compound tyres to hold on to the podium. And Billy and Erosia and even Gekkevelge closing in. But the more Ridian can keep within a second of Morgan, the better. He's doing a brilliant job, to be fair, but it's so close to outside of his second gap. As Billy nearly runs into the back of Ridian. It's a hard compound tyre versus medium versus soft. And let's just see how much further Ridian can hold on, as it is over a second now. Yeah, it's just losing him the time. And Seb looks like that cemented it. He's going to start what will be lap 27, which means no more chances of a safety car. And that's got to be the first race in a while I can remember there hasn't been a safety car or a VSC. Probably the first ever season opener we've never had a safety car or VSC. Seb starts lap 27. Morgan is gone. Morgan and Seb cement themselves as first and second like they were in qualifying. And now it's the fight for the final podium place like we saw last season. And it's currently going to Billy in front of Ridian. And what does Erosia do? How quickly can he get past Ridian, who's opted to stay out, opted to go for the one stop. As it looks like Billy's got the place done. And it looks like Ridian won't be able to challenge. He could find himself as low as 6th here if he doesn't fight properly, as drifting has gone off for a 3rd time. And that means Nathan has cemented the final points paying position as Thomas pitted. What is that, a 3rd time? How many? Hang on. Oh my god, 3 stops. As yeah, only 2 points for McLaren at the moment. Penalties, no. We'll flick back to 3rd, 4th and 5th. As a biggest gain at Nathan so far this race, as Erosia right behind as drifting pits. Will it be for the fastest lap point? We'll wait and see. No one's got any penalties. And yeah, after 2 seasons of Ferrari versus Red Bull, with Ferrari mainly being the more dominant, they're currently 4th and 6th. Obviously, Gekkevelge's reserving, but Ferrari still looking good. But then, next after that were 2 seasons of where McLaren thrived. They're only going to walk away with 2 points currently in Bahrain. And it seems like this season and next, obviously Ferrari was 22, McLaren was 23 on 24. It looks like it's RB versus Alpine with 3 drivers wheel to wheel for P3, and how do they not crash there? How did they don't get sandwiched there? As switching back, Billy forces Ridian off. Billy gets a 3-second now. It's kicking off with Erosia trying to go on the switch for 1. He goes to the inside of Billy for P3. Billy will leave the room. Erosia will bang wheels with him going into the Mercedes. He gets the move though, and that did get a bit too close as Billy ended up getting a 3-second time penalty, the only driver of the race to get one, as he forced Ridian off there, went off himself I believe. Obviously he did to get the 3-second, and that's caused something. Erosia might be under investigation for a few things after this race, but at the moment he is currently 3rd in front of Billy. As a yellow flag for Oren. He's in the background there. This has allowed Gekabel to close in, so Billy will drop down to 6 at the moment, and Ridian's just trying to keep hold of this at the moment. Seb is about to start the final lap. Morgan has tried all he could, but the strategy got away from him today with the 2-stop. The 1-stop has worked for Seb with brilliant race pace, and at the moment it's Erosia versus Billy versus Ridian for the final position on the podium. Last season it was Callum versus Sven. This time round we have 3 drivers, potentially 4, fighting who's going to be on the final step of the podium. Round the final corner with 35% battery, and 11 and 22 and 13, they've all used them up. But here comes Ridian then on so old tyres. He's still going to give it a go on Billy. Looks like Erosia's safer now. To the inside, Billy sends it on Erosia. What a move as Ridian bangs wheels with Erosia. Billy's made it stick. Brilliant, but he's got a 3-second time penalty, and unless he can get that removed, it'll be Erosia still on the podium. But this fight isn't over yet. Erosia to the inside, now switches to the outside. Ridian still giving it a go as he's to the inside. Can Ridian somehow find his way back onto the podium as they make contact? Do Erosia and Ridian. And Ridian stays in P4 for now, but currently sits in 3rd. Does Erosia send it to the inside of Ridian? Yes, he does. This is for the podium as they make contact, and through goes Gekabel to potentially gain the podium. But Erosia is not giving this up. But due to the ghosting system, Gekabel, after patiently waiting for most of the race, finds himself in net P3, but they're ghosting in one another. Ridian tried it, but there was contact, and Erosia looks like he's still to his old ways sometimes. Erosia back in front of Ridian. Billy will keep in front, as if he goes to get the 3-second removed, he'll be on the podium. If not, it'll be Erosia, and if he gets penalties, maybe Gekabel. But we're expecting Seb round the final corner. Seb, for the 3rd time in EXFL Tier 2, and for the 1st time in Tier 2 Season 9, starts the season off with celebrations for RB. Seb wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Behind him, Morgan, try as he might. First pole position, still a P2, and coming home for P3 is Billy, but with a time penalty, it will go to Erosia for now, then the 2 Ferraris. Billy will drop to 6th. Seb, a commanding, brilliant drive, earns him victory. That glitch is still a thing then for Ridian. And Seb wins. Frosty 7th, Eggy will come home in P8, Tom P9, and Nathan will take it all in to get a point. Brilliant for him. Drifting 11th, Bluey 12th, Oren 13th, Callum and Noah being the retirements. Seb, it's a great drive from him to start the season off, and I think for the first time ever now, he leads the Drivers' World Championship. 7 points in front of Morgan, who went for the 2-stop. And if these two are to be the title protagonists for the upcoming 21 races we have left, bring it on. But yeah, things got a bit airy towards the end, involving Erosia and the Ferraris as well as Billy. I'm sure that'll be looked at. As Seb sprays the champagne, we know how passionate he can be, and if he has recorded him on getting that win, that's something we'll all love to hear. But for now, We don't need to hear, we just need to see. And what we see is Seb winning the Bahrain Grand Prix. Morgan then did get the fastest lap, of course, so it's only 6 points between them. But yeah, Seb wins out. Morgan and Hirose on the podium. Gekabel P4, Billy P5, Frosty, after a pretty poor start, fights his way back up to 6, which will be 7th because Ridian had that glitch. Oh yeah, Billy 6 as well. Unless he can get the penalty removed, then it will be the podium for him. Tom 8th, Tom 9th, Nathan 10th, Drifting 11th, Bluey 12th, Oren 13th, Cal 14th, Noah 15th. And this race director is going to be a bit short. Billy lap 28, Billy lap 26, Billy lap 15. Did Seb get any? Oh, Seb got 2. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. Right then, let's get the top 3 in the party. Right, that's Seb. That's Morgan. And that's Hirose. Right, there we go. We have the top 2 joining us at the moment. Oh, Seb's trying to reconnect. There we go. We'll just wait. We've just got Hirose to join, but if not, that's fine. Quickly go to the showroom. And we'll start off with our race winner, and for the first time leading the World Championship after a brilliant race. We have X3BDV1. Seb, are you there, mate? It's been a dog or a bull, I don't know. You include your audio, mate.
Yeah.
Seb, you have just won the Tier 2 Season 9 Bahrain Grand Prix, the opening round of 22, and you, for the first time in your Tier 2 career, lead the World Championship. What a drive.
Yeah. I don't actually know really what to say. You know, it was this time last year you telling me to step up my game. But not this time last season. I mean, told to step up my game because I retired from the first race of the season.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3?
Unlucky moments.
Yeah, your teammate won the opening round last season. He couldn't take it all the way exactly. Obviously, it's a long season. We've only just done the first race. But you've got the full 25. And you and Visa look so good winning.
I have to say, this win is all thanks to Logan. He set a start on the hards.
Yeah. The one stop looked better than the 2.
Yeah. I was able just to keep the pace. And then when I was out in the lead, yeah, I got those 2 warnings, but they came on my medium run.
Right. Obviously, you were pushing a bit more.
I just lost concentration. I can't remember what lap it is.
You could have got 9 warnings and still won.
But yeah, I kind of realised how big that was.
What about qualifying then? The top 2. I don't know about anyone else, but obviously I went in my head predicting you and Morgan would be the 2 protagonists, at least the top 2 for now in the championship. And obviously I was right that you 2 were separated by 6 thousandths. Morgan obviously got his first pole. He went for the 2 stop. I thought you were going to chase Morgan and Hirose down, but then they pitted again. So it kind of swapped, but you were on newer tyres anyway, so it wasn't really meant to be for Morgan, unfortunately, but he still made the best of it, 19 points. But all I can say is well done on the victory. You're 3rd in EXFL Tier 2. And yeah, you've never really gone into a season as a title favourite, but this one is your biggest chance. So you've made the most of it today, so well done.
Thank you.
Morgan, are you there, my friend?
I am.
Very interesting race from you today. Brilliant drive nonetheless. You got your first ever pole. How was the lap?
It was alright. I mean, I got pole position, but you know, it wasn't the cleanest, if I'm honest. But obviously, it was just it was quick enough to get pole position, which I'm quite happy with. So
66 thousandths. You got a brilliant start. Obviously, Seb started on the hards, dropped down a bit. You were in good control, and then you found yourself in a few battles, mainly with Hirosia. There were a few hairy moments at times with him, but did you enjoy the fight, or were you just trying to avoid him?
No, I realised when he called to me that I knew he wanted to stay behind for like maybe like five laps. I think he stayed behind me, and then he started overtaking. And to do with the strategy I didn't with the last box that we did, I was contemplating whether to box or not, or to risk it. Um,
Staying out.
and so, yeah, staying out. And I boxed. I made the call to box, which I forgot that Seb had boxed previously, and then which kind of threw the win away. You know, if I actually like listened and heard that Seb had boxed, I'd most likely would have stayed out. But,
Yeah, that could have changed the course of the race. Obviously, we would have had to see Seb get the win by overtaking. But obviously, yeah, you, along with Hirosia and Gekabel, pitted. But you still made up the most for it. You got 19 points with the fastest lap. And it does look like it's quite the story to behold. You and Seb obviously were level on 199 points last season. You obviously beat him due to more wins. And now you go into this season, obviously, as the two main for now. So that's going to be quite the fight for the next 20-odd weeks. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to support you or Seb. And we're all here for it. But yeah, well done today to get the podium. Last question, that little scrap at the end, did that have you fearing a bit, Billy, Ridian, all them? Thinking.
no, I knew Reno was obviously on. He stayed out on them tyres for a long time, so I knew he didn't have the pace, and I knew he was going to make it hard for me to try and get past him. And then obviously Billy kind of just joined the situation. He was on fresher mediums, so I knew I had to like just burn a lot to get past Ridian, and hopefully Ridian would just be stubborn, which he was, and wouldn't really let Billy past him without a fight. So obviously I feel like Billy deserves P3. What I was told is that he was pushed off, which would really surprise me from the Sauber driver who, you know. But so we'll have to see after post-race penalties are given up.
Yeah. Either he pushed the Ferrari off and got 3 second, or the Ferrari pushed him off and he got 3 second. Whatever the case, if he gets removed, he gets removed and gets the podium. But whatever the case, that was a very enjoyable Bahrain Grand Prix to watch. Well done to whoever gets P3. Well done to Morgan on the pole, first pole, and P2 and fastest lap. Well done to Seb on the win. That has been the Bahrain Grand Prix. Great season opener. And there's many more moments to come across the course of the 22 races on F1 24. Let's see if Seb can retain it in Saudi Arabia in 7 days.
This guy.